Hey guys, welcome back. This montage is just a few of the photos I took on our very first trip to Eleuthera. We start off with Charles staring out and looking out as we left Nassau. None of us knew what to expect. We'd never been to Eleuthera. I'd only been to Harbor Island once when I was about 19. But the four of us headed out with a tent, a cooler full of chilled stuff, some cereal, some chips, some salsa, other little snacky stuff, some grits, some canned food, some rice, our camping stove, and one suitcase with clothes for the four of us. We rented a car and we hit the ground running. We went by boat and we got in around 7 that evening. And then the lady we did the car rental with picked us up and took us to our house to get the car. We crossed the glass window bridge at night, so we didn't even have any idea of what we were crossing over. It was really it was really crazy when we did drive back and saw it. But yeah, these are just a few shots that I took. We headed down, we drove to Deep Creek that night. So we drove from the top of Eleuthera in the north. We came in through not Current Island, that's a different spot, Current, and we drove down 110 miles to Deep Creek. We ended up sleeping in the car in the primary school yard because we couldn't find anywhere we felt comfortably enough to pitch the tent because it was already after 11. We woke up around 5. Yeah, we got up at the crack of dawn and pulled out of the yard and followed the main road and found a public access little track road to a beach. And that's where we set up our camping stove and tried to get breakfast going. I made some calls to try and find out exactly where the middle school was because that was the whole point of the trip. We came down to check out the middle school for my son and for him to participate in admissions day where he gets interviewed and assessed, and the parents get to see the school and just have a quick general meeting and see what it's like. So I had no idea where the school was. As small as the settlement is, I didn't see the school when we pulled out of the primary school yard. So I called the principal and she told me where to find it. And we started hunting for a bucket because we'd forgotten to bring one. We had no idea how we were going to bathe and keep clean on this trip. We came in on a Friday and we're leaving Sunday evening. And I'm like, okay, it's 2 nights. We'll figure something out. And so we were driving up and down looking for a bucket after breakfast. And we met this gentleman working on a church. And they didn't have any clean buckets. But he told us that he had an empty apartment we could use. And I side-eyed my boyfriend like, what? So we were like, thanks. And we pulled off. And we decided, okay, we would take everything out of the cooler and we'll catch water in the cooler so at least my son could bathe. Because we brought his uniform. He had to wear his uniform. He had to be as fresh as possible. The rest of us would just figure something out. So once again, we were by the public pump on the roadside, and the same gentleman stopped again. He's like, I told y'all I have a spot. Y'all could use the bathroom and do whatever you have to do, and it's no problem. So my boyfriend, who's an island boy, was like, that's just how people are on an island. You have some people who are extremely nice. You don't want to do that. Like, everybody could just use the bathroom, bathe, and then we could charge our phones and then figure it out from there. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So we followed him back to the apartments and we did what we had to do and we laughed. And it turns out he turned out to be the bus driver for the school. And he's also currently our landlord because we are living in the apartment that we used on that trip. But that's a story for another time. So yeah, we got cleaned up, freshed up, went to the school. I went into the meeting. After the web was done, we left him and we went exploring because we were to be back at a certain time. So we went further south and saw the resort, the Science Institute, that's part of the island school, KB Luther's Institute. And then we drove across the next way to see Bannerman Town and all that, and decided to head back for him when he was done. And excuse my noise in the background, I'm sure you can hear my 2-year-old. So yeah, we did all that, and then we were like, okay, so where are we going to sleep tonight? This is Saturday, and we decided, okay, we'll just head back north. So we'll be north for when it's time to leave the next day, which wouldn't be until almost 6 the next day. And it was about 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, and we were trying to figure out what to do. So we drove. We stopped at the Levy Preserve, which is part of the National Trust, and the lady who was working there, told us that we could camp at Preacher's Cave, and she told us how to find it. So we're like, okay, cool. So let's get there before dark. So we took in the sights as best as we could. Stopped a couple places, and then we rambled until we found Preacher's Cave. We checked out the beach. That side of Eleuthera scares me. It's the Atlantic, and the ocean is really rough sometimes, and the water is a different blue from the seaside. And the kids waited a bit. We chilled out, and then we went back over to the cave side, and we got everything set up. We put up the tent. We set up our little kitchen on the bench. The kids got started cooking, and then we wrapped up for the night. The next day, we discovered we had camped under a beehive. Thank goodness the campfire smoke kept them somewhat sedated, I guess. We got packed up and we headed out to go to Briland. We figured we'd just chill out on Briland until it was time to leave. And it was Mother's Day. And when I planned the trip, I had no idea. I didn't remember. So the kids gave me cards they had made at school. And we just laid on the beach in Briland for most of the day. We just chilled. We had grits and corned beef cooked on a camping stove. And we chilled on the beach after riding around a bit. We had rented a golf cart and we drove around, I think, 1 or 2 times. We stopped at a store to get water and a couple more snacks. We then set up on the beach. We waited a bit, and then, we just decided to relax. We talked about the school. We talked about what would happen next, how it would work out, because my initial plan was to find a homestay for my son until we would either go and join him or just see what happens in the 3 years he would be at Deep Creek Middle School. But as you can tell, we are living in Eleuthera now, so clearly our decision ended up being to move down here so that he could attend the school with no problem. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the pictures. And that's our first trip. Just up and bought a tent. Was like, I don't know about the hotel situation. I got all our tickets for the boat and I went grocery shopping. I booked a car for the 3 days, met an awesome woman who has a somewhat similar story in regards to some things that happened in her life and how she raised her 2 kids on her own. And she and I are still friends. And it's just amazing how that one trip just changed everything so much, and I learned so much about myself because I never camped before. My boyfriend did, and I think that's where the confidence came from, to know that. I guess if it was me completely on my own, I'm not sure I would have. I did buy a tent that I could pitch by myself, but it was amazing. It was just the 4 of us, and we slept in that cave with no second thoughts or any fears. And yeah, we did it a couple more times since we've been here. We've explored and done all that. So hope you've enjoyed, and see you on the next one.